Hello, people. It is I once again. This one is kind of a follow-up to my four-part series on the House of Lords reforms that Tony Blair managed to get done in the 1998 to 2005 era. And it's funny while I've been researching that and decided to make some videos of it, because it's like now is the time where the impact and ramifications, if I want to go all Latin on you, of what Tony Blair has done to the revising chamber. Remember, revising chamber. We can etymologize the word revise. It's not a policy chamber, yes? So we're talking about the Senate here. As far as I'm aware, in America, the Senate doesn't make laws or propose laws. It revises them. Same in England, like the Houses of Commons proposes legislation, and the House of Lords would revise the legislation, saying, "Oh, that's a good idea, but this needs a little tweak, that needs a little tweak, and that needs a little tweak." It's a revising chamber. So think of that. Bear that in mind. That it's a revising chamber. What is going on here? Well, this wise old man, and his opinion on
three elderly and extremely nervous aunts, of whom I am very.
Excuse me, I didn't pause with the space bar. But this is a chap who's addressing the House of Lords in relation to the leaving the European Union. So he's using would this be a metaphor? So let's have a look.
I have three elderly and extremely nervous aunts, of whom I am very fond. I decide to give them a treat and ask them to discuss what they'd like to do. So they have a discussion and they arrive at a democratic solution, which is that they'd like to go to the cinema tomorrow. So I look in the local paper and I discover that the only films on offer are Reservoir Dogs and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And what am I then to say to my highly nervous and indeed squeamish, but much loved aunts? You must stick with your democratic decision? Or do I say, now you know what's on offer, what do you think?
Okay, it's quite a short little video. I'm going to pause it again if I can. But there's so many angles in here about how being institutionalised in the government house, if you like, Houses of Parliament, and how this is the expression being lorded over. And this guy's using a metaphor about talking about his aunts and how he's going to treat them. He is going to treat them, and he is going to take them out to have some enjoyment. And they've decided in a democratic process that he is going to take them. So he's already decided that he's going to take them out and they want to go to the cinema. Okay, great, you're going to go to the cinema. I will take you out to go to the cinema. So therefore, I will look at what films are on offer which are best for you. And he's decided that he's found that he can only find Texas Chainsaw Massacre and not Reservoir Dogs. I would have picked Reservoir Dogs personally, as you're going with the Quentin Tarantino thing, but Pulp Fiction or something. So, and then he goes back to his answer and says, "Sorry, you've democratically decided to go out into a cinema, but I've only managed to find you two probably not appropriate films. Or are they appropriate? You know, you never know. They might think, oh, that sounds glorious. I'm fed up of all the old romantic comedies." So again, he's making so many presumptions and assumptions about what they will and won't like. And he's also taking it upon himself to decide and filter what the people who have democratically elected to go to the cinema, what is on offer to them. This is why it's so revealing. It's such a silly little speech, but it's just from this guy's point of view, doesn't realise what he's doing. He's lording over, he's prescribing as daddy government what you can and can't do because you're in a vulnerable position or you're in a position where you need someone else's assistance to get on with your life. So let's watch it again and I'll try and break it down very slowly as to what he's doing.
I have three elderly and extremely nervous aunts, of whom I am very fond.
So there we are.
I decide to give them treat.
So elderly and nervous? Was it? I think he said aunts. So he's prescribing their characters. Three individual elderly aunts who are all nervous. And I've decided to give them a treat. I've decided to give my little doggy a treat. Here you are, doggy. Might be a biscuit today. Tomorrow it might be some bacon. Next after that, I might not give you a treat. See, this is so ingrained in the consciousness of lordy people who want to lord over you so that they can decide what you can and can't do.
And ask them to discuss what they'd like to do.
So he's also asked them, yeah? So even though he's saying they've come to a democratic decision to come to, what would you like to do? I'm giving you any opportunity. What would you like to do? But he's also asked them. He's prompted them. Here we are. If you want to do what you want to do, I'm going to tell you when to do it. So you now take a vote on this, and now you decide what you're going to do. And then I might, if I'm in the mood, do it for you.
So they have a discussion and they arrive at a democratic solution, which is that they'd like to go to the cinema tomorrow. So I look in the local paper and I discover that the only films on offer are Reservoir Dogs.
See, now also think about this. If you're deciding to go to the cinema, it's not like, oh, let's go to the cinema. You know, what would you like to do tomorrow? I'd like to get on a boat. What would you like to do tomorrow? Oh, let's get on a bus. You know, the bus is not why you want to get. You don't want to go on a bus. You want to get to a destination. Yeah. So to the cinema, you would, you know, normally there's a particular film that you would like to see. You know, oh, I've never seen this film. Could we watch it? You know, or really like to see that new film. I've seen it on TV. You know, there's got to be some sort of need. Or, you know, I was once explained, to put it in another way, if someone comes to you and they want to buy a hammer, don't sell them a hammer. Sell them or drill or something. I think it's a hammer. Don't sell them a hammer. Sell them a hole in the wall. And try and work that out. Yeah, what you're trying to do is make them believe that this is a benefit. This is going to get nails in better than anything ever done. So it might be a hammer, or it could be an electric hammer. You know, there's all kinds of needs and wants and benefits that you can do in terms of getting people to decide what they want. But this guy is taking, you know, he's in his own example. He's not telling the film. It's just the cinema, the bus journey. Let's go on a coach trip. Yeah, but where? This is why he's manipulating the language here to have you believe in such a way that gets a little bit of a giggle from all his peers, and if you dare call it peers, fellow highbrow lords, lowbrow but highbrow lords, and look, they get a little giggle here.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
See, they're all like, ha ha
and
ha.
What am I then to...
Little peasant democratic vote people. Oh, they want something. They really want it. Oh, please can we have it? But all I can find for you is 2 inappropriate movies, and now I'm going to decide they're inappropriate, and I'm going to tell you how inappropriate they are for you. And you still want to go ahead with that? You know, it's like, well, this is exactly what the democratic system is in England. This is not a democratic system. It's an illusion of democracy by people who like to lord over you and take your vote to lock you into the system of government.
Say to my highly nervous and indeed squeamish, but much loved aunts, you must stick with your democratic decision? Or do I say, now you know what's on offer, what do you think?
Now you know what's offer. So hang on a minute. We all knew what was on offer with the Brexit. It was, would you like to leave or remain? It's like, you know, would you like to have a drink or not a drink? Yeah, I'd like a drink. Oh, but now you've got a pint full of poison. It's like, oh, I didn't know. That's not a drink. That's poison. You know what I mean? They're conflating and manipulating and changing the meaning of all of this just to make us all feel like a bunch of fools and how ridiculous this decision is and how silly a referendum is. You know, putting the vote of the government and all these interested peoples and parties and, you know. Anyway, we're going to crack on. We're going to go across and look at another video, which is in the same vein. So this is some guys. Who is this guy? Give me a little bit of kudos. So this is Ross Kempsell on YouTube, and he's done a lovely collage of lords, you know, like senators, lords in the House of Lords, giving their opinions. Right? They're giving their opinions on things that has nothing to do with the job of revising legislation. And it's and this first chap, and it's going to be quick, but he strikes the red leather bench in front of him, and I don't think that's ever happened in the House of Lords. Probably bad. I mean, it's a thumping your hand on the table. You don't do this stuff, especially in the House of Lords. Traditionally, with all these hereditaries, which I've done a video on, they would never act in such a way. But here we go. You get someone who has a special interest. Maybe has shares falling. Maybe has all kinds of nonsense going on because of his investments are falling down. All his contacts are leaving him because, you know, they're not interested in Brexit or somewhere. And it's just really an emotional expression here of how nonsensical Brexit is from his point of view. But obviously the people aren't in his position, and that's the point of Brexit. Yeah, it's for people making more money for themselves and losing voting democratic power. And thank God we voted Brexit, because this would have gone in 15 years. We would have lost this right to withdraw from EU totally.
I hate referendums. The government talking about going global.
Why? I hate referendums. How's that anything to do with a revising chamber? When you've got a document sent to you saying this is what we're proposing for Brexit because we've been instructed by referendum directly from the electorate, regardless of party, which is the best thing about it, regardless of Democrat, Republican, Conservative, or Labour, regardless of party, we went to the people directly and we asked for an instruction, and they got their instruction and are now following out the will of the people. But alas,
I hate referendums.
I hate losing, you might as well said.
I hate referendums. The government talking about going global. Brexiteers talking about going global. What is this going global nonsense?
That if it's a referendum.
Well, going global, globalisation is exactly what the European Union is. It's globalising your legislature, your trade, you're harmonising your currencies. It's what globalisation is. It's about creating a one world state where eventually the end goal would probably be one global currency, one global legal system, one global employment contract law, one global everything. It's like the massive economies of scale. It's massive economies of scale, and most importantly of all, it's a monopolisation. It's a complete monopolisation, a global monopoly on everything you think, do, and say, and no room for any individuality or expression or any kind of ruffling the feathers of the status quo. And the most important thing about status quo is that the rich stay where they are. It's been going on in England since, we practically invented, well, we didn't invent it, but my God, they honed it since 1275. This is basically led up to this point, this whole centralisation of power.
I hate referendums. The government talking about going global. Brexiteers talking about going global. What is this going global nonsense?
That if it's a referendum that's got you into this mess, then the only way out may be another referendum.
This is not a revision opinion. What is the paper in front of you? Why are you standing up and saying, if a referendum's got us into this mess, let's get a referendum, get us out? That's not revising a document that's been put forward from House of Commons.
And as for sovereignty and taking back control, what a lot of nonsense.
Sovereignty and taking back control, what a load of nonsense. Thank God he's not representing my opinions. Well, it wouldn't be anyway, but what a load of nonsense. Is that sovereignty? Taking back control? Nonsense?
I took the view that the result must...
Oh, this is him, the Dark Lord himself. So this is Star Wars fans. This would be some sort of dark side Sith Lord, Peter Manderson, twice removed from government, twice reinstated, I believe he was. He is he is what Frankie Boyle described as a gay and a lord. He's a gay lord.
In taking back control, what a lot of nonsense.
I took the view that the result must be upheld.
I took the view that the result must be upheld. I had principles.
I no longer believe this to be axiomatic.
Axiomatic basically means, I looked this word up, self-evident. It's basically self-evident. It's self-evident. We've had a referendum. We have to follow the will of the people. I now believe that's not so self-evident. In fact, we need to step in and scupper the plans. That's essentially what he's saying.
He said, Karen, that...
I no longer believe this to be axiomatic.
He said, Karen, that is what Brexit is, a train crash in slow motion.
Train crash in slow motion. It's better than being poisoned ever so slowly over generations into some sort of despotism by stealth.
I think referendums are appalling.
Let us not throw it all away.
Karen, read this book about the build-up of the First World War.
And they're a sin against parliamentary democracy.
They're a sin against parliamentary democracy. Says you who's not in the democratic chamber, you're in the appointed chamber. Oh, the irony there. I mean, I like the girl in the background having a little grimace. She's like, you have no clue. So you're in an appointed chamber and you're saying it's a sin against parliamentary democracy. So, and even Parliament would probably say it's somewhat secular. So using such words in the revising chamber is quite interesting.
My lords, it is not too late to stop that train crash.
I hate referendums.
That's a nice way to end. Right, anyway, there we go. So this is what's happening. I mean, this is a lovely edit of some particularly interesting opinions. And obviously they're entitled to the opinions, but you can see how nothing there had anything to do with the legislature coming through. They're not saying, oh, this point here is a bit worrisome, or that point there is a bit worrisome. They should be going into... They should be examining the details, the minutiae of the document that the government is putting through, not standing up and getting a here from all their other whingy lords who don't like the fact that they're leaving the European Union. I mean, that's all Brexit is. We're leaving. It's like cancelling your gym membership. People need to get this over in their head. You are cancelling your gym membership because the gym is terrible, because the gym was too expensive, because the gym was protecting itself from you having any choice of going to any other gyms. That is all the European Union is. It's a club. It's a society. It's nothing more than a subscription. It's got nothing to do with hating people of Europe. European Union is a self-interested fraud ring, right? I put this to one of my friends the other day. I said, if you and I set up a scout group, a children's play group, a music group, right? And we set it up, you and I would run it, and we're going to have kids come along, people come along, play, do whatever. They're going to learn. They're going to be educated in some way, right? And it's going to be for the benefit of everybody. If we set up that group and never ever reported the accounts of money or interest that we or, like never did any financial recording or auditing of our own books, how long would it take for us to get in big trouble with the tax authorities? How long would it take for us to get investigated and shut down and probably be banned from doing what we're doing, right? It wouldn't take long at all. The European Union, as far as I'm aware, has never had its audit ever signed off. It's never been independently verified or checked. Never. And this is a massive, like a pan-governmental organisation that takes in billions of pounds worth of money. It is inherent. Just that in its own is like, no, walk away from that. Thank you very much. Good luck. Have fun. Bye. It's such a corrupt body. But what you need, and I believe in a united Europe, but it can't be as it's done now. It has to be done in a different way. Whether we now is leaving the European Union, I believe more of a Commonwealth. Let's go back to the Commonwealth. Let's show people the benefits of being part of the Commonwealth. Let's look at the benefits of the law system, the rule of law, our government, our culture, our people, and say, look, if you would like to join, like Catalonia, for example, hey, Catalonia, would you like to join the Commonwealth? We'll protect you. We'll make sure that Spain isn't big. I mean, that'd be quite sweet because Spain and Gibraltar all these years, and then we can say, hey, Catalonia, would you like to come on board with the Commonwealth? Bing! That'd be beautiful. That'd be poetic in some respects. And again, just like saying, look, this is the idea with the Commonwealth. We have these kind of trade agreements in place. We have these kind of laws that we ask you to uphold. Put in the people, and people have certain individual liberties. I know people might say, oh, we don't have any, but we actually do. But there's a dual system, and the dual system running in England at the moment is the whole European Napoleonic code kind of system of law, where the legislature is supremacy over the will and customs of the people. Whereas in England, the customs of the people and the beliefs of the people actually is supreme over legislature. And it's a very important distinction that people need to get into their head, is that when the government comes up with some sort of legislature saying, oh, you can't drink alcohol after 10 o'clock, or you can't eat this kind of food, in a Napoleonic code land, that is the law. In a common law land or Commonwealth land, it is, well, we've been eating bread all our lives, or we always drink at 10, at midnight for New Year or something like that. We've always done that. We've always had a champagne at midnight on New Year. It's something we always do. So that, you're basically making our culture illegal, which is obviously disgraceful. But bringing that all back to the EU referendum and what the House of Lords is, I just thought this is a lovely video just to see how some of the emotional, outspoken bursts of tirades that come out of these people's mouths, and how different that was from the 4-part series that I made on the House of Lords. I mean, there was that one chap who stood on the Woolsack and complained about these reforms, but it turns out he was quite right, and he is right. He might have done it in the wrong way, but he expressed an opinion that will invariably prove to be accurate. So there we go. Let's keep an eye on this space. I'll probably have to do another one on these soon enough, as these people expose themselves for incompetent, as incompetent members of a revising chamber.